Show with the top dog, Hanford Dixon. I'm Gabriella Cruz. We are joined by 10-year NFL veteran and former Browns running back Leroy Hoard. Here's part 2 of our interview.
The great Leroy Hoard. We've had some amazing guests, and I've had some awesome teammates through the years. And again, he's talking about me yelling and being opinionated. And look at how he's glowingly saying that because it's result-oriented. Why the hell in my personal life does every single non-football person just get bent out of shape when you're confronted with the facts?
It's you know what? It's one of the hardest transitions to make in life, right? Because we can't go at people like that in the real world.
Oh, but I know, but people went at us like that, right?
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. It was crazy. I remember. So Hanford, I've told this story 1,000 times, and I was a rookie, and you know they say rookie running backs, you can't get on the field unless you can pass protect, right? And I was like, I was blocking my ass off. Well, I knew I was gonna get some playing time, so I go into the game and I'm blocking this big old defense, this linebacker. I'm blocking. I'm like, what the hell is Bernie doing? I'm blocking. Then all of a sudden, Bernie runs around and throw the ball in the dirt. I get pushed on my back.
He's
and he
mad.
run over at me.
I know it. He's mad. Yeah.
He put his hand in his chest and he say, "Hey, don't block that long. I ain't running." Right? And so we had this time thing to where I give him 2.5, 3 seconds. If that ball ain't gone, I ain't blocking no more.
You're out in the road.
And everybody used to think this was a game plan. And
we just did it ourselves. I got goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
It saved. We went to the AFC Championship game. It saved like a couple years of my career because literally I didn't have to look. I knew where you were, and in 3 seconds, you would uncover. Or we had this thing, and I really recommend this for young quarterbacks out there too. When you develop that camaraderie and that sixth sense with your teammates, and in particular your running backs, when you're running towards the line of scrimmage, it's natural for their backs and receivers to want to think you're running and they're going to block downfield. But that's when the top dog, as a DB, you're the most vulnerable.
Yes.
I'm not athletic, and you're still coming up to tackle me. What if you're an athletic quarterback, like the majority of them? You're really in a catch-22. So I would bluff like I'm going to run and then get right to the line and try to hit the receiver. Leroy and me developed such a rapport that he would look like he's blocking. I'm looking like I'm running. And then right a half a step before the line of scrimmage, you're dumping it past him. I mean, that's some of the most rack you got in your career.
And the thing about it, it worked. It works.
Too.
Leroy, we can't let you get away. Tell us, what do you think of these Cleveland Browns today?
I think the thing about last year was a bit unfair to everybody, in that to expect Deshaun Watson to just come in after not playing football for 2 years and take Cleveland to the promised land. He needed to get that football in. He definitely needed to get back. You needed to do that last year. You don't want to do it in the beginning of this year. And a lot of people got on Kevin Stefanski. But I would say this. There were times when I wish he would have ran the ball more and kind of gave Jacoby Brissett a little more room to operate when he ran the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
But think about this. Jacoby Brissett had his best year as a professional. So you got to give Kevin Stefanski credit for that. And even though we don't want to do it because of the record that the team had, they were up against it all year. So I think they're going to have some consistency at a position that they haven't had consistency. Baker Mayfield was great. And then sometimes he wasn't, right? And it's the ups and downs and ebbs and flows that you really can't have at that position. You can have a couple of bad games, but for the most part, you need to be consistent with how you do things at that position. I think that's what Deshaun Watson brings. I think they're trying to give him some more weapons. I think the Cleveland Browns are always going to be built on running the ball first. Please don't forget that. You have the best running game in the league. Build off of that. Don't think just because you paid a bunch of money for a quarterback, you got to all of a sudden start airing it out. He's going to get his numbers, but you got to stay true to who you are. Defensively, they're going to get healthy. They're going to add a few pieces, and hopefully they'll be able to be a lot better because defensively they struggled also. But I think they're going to turn it around. The problem is that they're in a hell of a division.
Hey, Leroy, I appreciate all that. To the running back question and to your to you running it. You came out of Michigan, amazing running back and running the football in a running type team, and then you morphed into, and I'm not saying this to stroke you, but an amazing running back wide receiver that could catch the ball better than most wide receivers. And again, I'm not just saying that to be nice. I'm asking this as it pertains to like Nick Chubb and stuff. He's predominantly looked at as a running back and running the ball and then taken out in third down. Well, how'd you make that transition from a runner to a guy that was a key weapon in the passing game? Because I kind of like Nick Chubb's possibility. I know people don't want to overuse him. I don't want to overuse him, but we're going to throw the ball more this year. I'd like to see Nick make an evolution in the passing game like you did. How'd you do that?
Here's how this works. Sometimes your skill set doesn't fit what they ask you to do. So just because I didn't catch the ball didn't mean I couldn't catch. It just meant that in the offense I was playing in, you play in a wishbone, you ain't going to have too many backs running routes.
Right.
So when I got to the NFL and we went more two-back, multiple formations, a lot of things like that, and then we start doing the thing that we did, people say, oh, he could catch. It wasn't like a developed skill because I know guys that play in the NFL for years and they couldn't catch when they got into the league and they couldn't catch when they left. Right?
Yeah.
That's just you know that there's certain guys that can't catch. And you can't do nothing about it. I think we get so caught up in guys doing certain things that we don't expand what they can do. See, one of the things we always tried to do, and Bill was good at this, he didn't want to give anybody a key as to what we were doing. So he would put me and Metcalf in the backfield sometimes and put me in the slot and put Met in the backfield. And so it would throw them off as to, oh, they ain't going to run this trap inside, or they're not going to run this option route with Leroy that they normally run with Met. And then we would run it. And so you have to have the ability to do that. I think Nick Chubb is an excellent receiver. But you got to sometimes put him in positions that will exploit the defense. I didn't mind having to go against, we played a game against Houston. Every time we played Houston, we had Lamar Lathan as a rush in. And he was a very good rush in. He was unbelievable. So guess what we did for a whole game? For the whole game, every time we played Houston, I played in the slot. I was a slot receiver for Houston every time we played him because Lamar Lathan had to come out and cover me. That's game planning. Sometimes it presents itself, sometimes it doesn't. But if they're going to try to cover him with their rushing, guess who's not rushing the quarterback?
Lamar Lathan.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just things like that you have to be able to open up your bag and use all the resources and the skills that you have from an offensive standpoint to be better. And so I hope they don't restrict a person's talent because of the vision they have, rather than look at the team and see the skill set that they all have and exploit what they can do. So I hope they use him a little bit more. I hope they can do things. They started using Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together, which is another thing that I wanted to see a little bit more of.
Right.
But anytime you can do that and open it up, just imagine if you go with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, then basically they're going to go kind of big. They're going to go two linebackers. They're going to pretty much assume you try to run the ball. Now you take Nick Chubb and put him in the slot. who's going to guard him? He's still fast. He's quick on his feet. So you going to put a linebacker out there? Are you going to bring a safety? What are you going to do? And it gives you options, because if they bring the wrong guy, if they try to come down with a safety or whatever, then you go ahead on and run it. If they try to bring that linebacker out there and guard Nick Chubb, then you go, okay, we got something for him.
Well,
that's just offensive football.
I asked that question because it reminds me so eerily similar of the matchups I got with you, bluntly, where I'm able to get those option routes on a linebacker and or take a pass rushing guy and get him out of the pass rush scheme and try to isolate him in coverage, which is even more golden.
Well,
right. But that's football, though. Yeah. That's football. Just like y'all trying to look, Hanford, from the defensive side of the ball, y'all looking at formations and y'all figuring out plays based on formations.
Right.
Okay. We run the same plays just out of 17 different formations with different guys doing the same stuff.
You just disguise
it. And it's confusing to a defensive guy if you look out there and see a running back out wide, and now you got to waste a corner on a guy that probably ain't gonna run no route. Now you got action inside.
But you have to cover him. Yeah.
You got to cover him. Yeah. Right. That's what remember the Wildcat? The Wildcat was crazy because you got a corner standing across from a running back and all the action is happening in between the tackles.
You're watching the Bernie Kosar Show with the top dog, Hanford Dixon. We've got to take a short break, but we'll be right back with more Leroy Hoard. Thanks for watching. Kosar Show with the top dog, Hanford Dixon. We are joined by Leroy Hoard. Here's part 2 of our interview continued.
I heard you say that Stefanski, you would have loved to have seen him run the ball a little bit more. So you're okay with him not giving up the offensive coordinator duties?
You know what? It becomes a production thing, right? More than it becomes a who's doing what. Right? You know, and Bernie could attest to this. You have so many meetings and so many practices about different situations. So when it gets to calling plays, everybody on that offensive side of the ball knows what plays you calling in those situations because you worked on them all week. Whether it's Kevin Stefanski or somebody else, we all know what those plays are going to be because we done worked on them all week. So the fact of the matter is whether Kevin Stefanski is calling the plays or not is not necessarily the problem. The problem that I've had sometimes is in the given situations, the plays that as a offense, they decide to run. That's not an offensive coordinator thing. That's an overall scheme thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we pay attention to who's calling the plays. I would pay attention on Wednesday and Thursday.
Hey,
and I think Deshaun Watson will help with that.
Yeah, it's interesting you're saying the scheme thing. You know, we're in the OTA part, the second or third, the later part of the OTA. So they're starting to work on things that you're probably going to see in the offseason. And, you know, you and me have talked on your show down in South Florida and off the air. I'm a big Mike McDaniels fan, and I love I absolutely love the personnel groups and motions and shifts that he is creating for Tua and the way he creates offensive stuff there. I see, and kind of haven't been out to practice for the Browns or anything, but from the stuff we're hearing, you're seeing significantly more scheme things in terms of motions and personnel groups and moving around. And Leroy, astutely to your point, that absolutely helps us out. Play calling wise, playing wise, player wise, is when you have kind of the scheme aesthetics around it, window dressing of it to create those mismatches. And sometimes when you're just line up in stagnant formations without motions and shifts, you become just too predictable.
Hey, here's the other thing. We all put this on the coach, but a lot of times the players dictate what the coaches can call. So if they've been screwing it up all week, even though it'll work, the coach ain't going to go to that play because he ain't confident that you could execute it. Now take and put a backup quarterback, put a quarterback that everybody has questions with before the season starts, and now you're running the offense with him. You've already determined that you're going to have to simplify it for him, right? Now, that may not be accurate or not. So you go ahead on and set up an offense that's simplified, whereas now that you have Deshaun Watson, you're like, oh, okay, now we got our guy. We can open things up. So there's a lot that goes into that. That's not simply, well, why are they just lining up and playing? Why are they not going to? Sometimes the players on the offense can't execute it. So let's not just put it all on the coach. Them guys been running plays all summer, and then they get to a point that they have to make a decision based on execution, based on confidence, based on the ability of the players to run it. And you can run a play. Yeah, you know what play. We all knew what play would work. But if somebody couldn't block it or you couldn't run the right route or you couldn't adjust it, you can't put your team in that situation.
Yeah, Leroy, you're talking a lot about that execution and even the chemistry you had with Bernie and the confidence you had in him. What are some of the things you want to see from Deshaun this year?
I just want to see him be a leader, because here's the most important thing that Deshaun Watson brings to the Cleveland Browns. He brings credibility from this standpoint. Kevin Stefanski now has a quarterback that can be both the mouthpiece for the players that he's building a relationship with now and the mouthpiece for the coach. So whatever happens on the field, the first person Kevin Stefanski going to talk to is Deshaun Watson, because guess who's going to be there if it don't work out?
260.
So that right. That dynamic in itself. Kevin Stefanski has never had a player in his ear, right? Talking about what we should do, talking about how we should go about certain things, what you like or whatever. I don't know if he's ever had confidence in a quarterback to trust what this guy is saying. So now you have a quarterback that not only is going to be in the players' ears, but he's going to be in Kevin Stefanski's ear. And that's going to help everybody as long as Deshaun Watson is the leader that he needs to be.
Thanks so much for watching the Bernie Kosar Show with the top dog, Hanford Dixon. We've got to take one more short break. We will be back with more Leroy Hoard right after this. Welcome back to the Bernie Kosar Show with the top dog, Hanford Dixon. This is a continuation of our interview with Leroy Hoard. Thanks so much for watching.
In a football locker room, we've talked about it. It's not right, but that's why we have kind of great camaraderie and thick skin. But whatever your weakest insecurity is, or whatever some of your biggest flaws are, is what unfortunately you make fun of. You get made fun of in the locker room. And when you're a rookie, you really get that amplified on you. So I had Leroy comes in. One of the things that they used to mess with him about was that he was messy, kind of dirty and stuff. I'm not exactly the cleanest dude at times, so Leroy made me look like Mr. Clean. And then all of a sudden, the next year, we get the center Steve Everett from Michigan come, and ain't nobody dirtier and smellier than him. He would go the whole training camp and wouldn't wash his grays and stuff. He made Leroy look like Mr. Clean.
Dude, hey.
Dude, I'm still.
Hey, Hanford, one time we played in Houston.
Oh, gosh.
And the game was over.
Right.
And we all getting dressed to go to the bus. And Steve Everett is in the locker room yelling, "What the hell has happened?" right? We go, what's wrong, Steve? They packed my shoes. I'm like, but that's your turf shoes. He go, I wore them to the game. No, he literally, I think he got on the plane barefoot until they got his shoes.
Well, yeah, but the shoes and barefoot, that didn't bother me. It said he would play the game and wear the same grays from practice to the grays to travel to Monday's practice. I said this joke, but unfortunately, it was factual. I didn't know Michigan guys actually had a shower there. But my kids all have ass hand from the toxins from putting my hands underneath those grays. There was no shotgun back then.
Gabby,
Come on, Doc.
Gabby, I think it's a good time. You know?
this one won't make the TV version, you know? But I mean, God, I wish I was making that up. No wonder I got CTE here.
Leroy, any final thoughts from you as we go down roasting you and Michigan people?
You know what? One of the biggest thing in sports, and I think more people should probably learn this lesson, is that you can't have thin skin in life.
No.
Right? I tell people all the time, there ain't nothing you could do to me that I ain't been through. Being from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, playing in Cleveland, traveling all over to play football and being booed by half the fans most of the time. There ain't nothing you could do or say to me that's going to break me. But we've gotten soft in the fact that everything is offensive. Everything. And I'm like, man, how you live? How can you live if you complain about this? What you going to do when you get a real job and your boss is yelling at you about doing something? You can't cry and go somewhere, whatever. It's life. Deal with it. We got to stop this. You know, even we marvel at the one thing about professional sports now is how sensitive everybody has gotten, right? Anybody say anything negative about you, I mean, anytime somebody would say something negative about me, I'm like, okay, I show them on Sunday.
Yeah,
I show them on Sunday, right? But now it's like you got to go on Twitter, you got to go on Instagram, social media, and put your thoughts out right there over somebody you don't even know. Like, man, we just need to get tougher skin.
Well, Big Dog, we appreciate you coming on.
Wow, you got me goosebumps, man. That's awesome, my man.
He does. He is the man.
Motivational speaker.
Yeah.
No, dude. Hey, you know what this is? This is life lessons.
Life lessons,
and I've learned some the easy way, and I've learned some the hard way, but I learned them.
Yep, life's lessons.
Well,
we really appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
We really, Leroy, thank you, and BK,
you're the best, my man. We love you.
All
you
right.
matter.
Another good show, BK.
I'll see you down in Trustee World next week, down in Canes.
All right.
Go Browns.